Hello, listeners. This is Gene Aversa, and I'm here with another episode of Serving Up Comics with Gene and Nick, a one
Hey,
show dedicated to comic lovers like me and Nick. Hey, Nick.
yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, Diego doesn't read comics, does he?
No, no, he doesn't. He think he which one? He doesn't like arcs. He doesn't like good stories.
Doesn't like art.
Yeah, he doesn't like art. He thinks
Uh,
everything's trash.
yeah. So Nick, what are you reading? What is on your pull list? As the segment is called.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I've been trying to catch up on the Injustice comics.
Okay.
What was
I'm
that?
sorry. The Injustice
Yeah,
Index.
Injustice. Right now, they just had Injustice Universe kind of had like a Injustice crossover with Masters of the Universe.
Oh, with He-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, with He-Man. So, I've been kind of getting into that. What was it? I started reading a little more of the Teen Titans comics, with Titans kind of coming back into swing and stuff like that. So, you know what? Honestly, I'm that's kind of what I've been like mainly getting into and stuff like that. That has been my pull list. I've been, and it's I went back to go reread the Judas Contract. Went back to go read a couple other ones too.
And we'll be getting into that later, but you've been reading that on the DC Universe app, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because well, we're going to talk a little bit about having comics digital, having your content, if you're a subscriber of a certain Marvel or DC, having it all digital now. So look forward to that. Um, but yeah, Injustice 2, what is it? Injustice Masters of the Universe? I don't
Yeah.
know. Crossover. It's based on the second ending for Injustice 2, which is if Superman wins. It's the
Yeah.
darkest ending ever.
Yeah, it's the dark timeline where Superman lives, and then because they're already been crossing over dimensions and everything like that, they end up ripping open a portal. What was it, into Ucarnia, and
Mhm.
He-Man and everybody else kind of start coming over, and they start causing some chaos.
Were you a He-Man fan growing up? Or-
You know what? Growing up, I used to watch the old TV show, the old TV show that used to be on Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay. Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh, were
yeah,
they? Was it like Skeletor's real name is Keldor?
yeah, it was like
He
Keldor or
turned
something like that.
turned
Yeah,
into a skull. He's like, you know what? I feel like Skeletor now.
yeah, Skeletor, makes me feel a lot better about this. But yeah, that was kind of like my first instance with He-Man. I started trying to get back into He-Man comics just because there is going to be a reboot of He-Man coming up with Netflix pretty soon. So
Yeah, by Kevin Smith.
yeah, Kevin Smith, Mark Bernardin, and a couple other people. So I mean, I can't wait to kind of jump back into the realm of He-Man. So that's gonna be
Yeah,
pretty cool.
He-Man's an underrated character for sure.
He is, and he does. You know what He-Man needs? He-Man needs a good movie. That's what he needs.
Yeah. There's
He
supposed
needs
to be a movie next year, but that will probably not go into development.
no, I mean, I mean, it's probably not going to go in development. I mean, not only that, but also you have the Dolph Lundgren He-Man Masters of the Universe from like 1980 something,
Yeah,
which the movie is just garbage because I think He-Man's in like 7% of the
yeah.
movie. Like he's in barely any of it.
Well, it was a Canon film, and Canon Films didn't have any money, so when they got the property, they're like, "How are we going to make this work with
I don't know.
two
Don't
dollars?"
don't spend all your money on Dolph Lundgren. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
shit. I mean, I get it. Dolph Lundgren cost like $5 to get back then, but that didn't mean it's below the whole budget.
yeah, basically. But speaking of delays, I've been reading Doomsday Clock, which I feel was always going to be bi-monthly.
Man, I'm
Uh,
just waiting for it to finish at this point.
yeah, it was always going to be delayed. There was always going to be issues.
Well, that's the thing
And
though, is that for Doomsday Clock, it keeps on getting delayed, so it's really throwing off this it's really throwing off like kind of like the when to get it, when not to get it, and stuff like that. But the other problem is that I kind of don't like the fact that they're pushing more towards it being like an outworld story.
Elseworlds, yeah, like
Like I didn't
well, I
really
mean,
like
it's I
that.
don't know if it's like Elseworlds, but it feels like it's in the future of continuity because like Batman has a different costume.
Yeah,
Uh,
Batman has a different costume, and like there's a couple other things that are going on. But the thing is that I did kind of want that to be in the actual like main canon of
yeah, like
the
the main like story, like the main kind of continuity right now. Yeah,
yeah, like I kind of wanted that, and I feel like they had other stories that when they wanted to tell. Not only that, but also I think that kind of collaborating and putting Doomsday Clock together took too long, and they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna make it an Elseworld story. Let's because it really did feel like it was gonna
well,
take.
no, I don't think it's an Elseworlds because the whole thing is it's how the New 52 got so um how it got so what differences it that led to this new universe being so different than New
Yeah, but
52.
yeah, but the thing is that but you're trying to answer that question, but all everybody else is still having their own storylines in the main continuity,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
none of them are addressing Doomsday Clock. Like nobody's
Well,
bringing it up. Nobody talks
that's
about it.
that's I think is a that's a shame for editorial because they really tried to build up a lot of synergy before the comic came out with the button and the one shot that came out that showed that the Watchmen characters are going into the DC universe. But yeah, I think that's more of an
Yeah, but
editorial problem.
well, if that is an editorial problem, then they really need to fix it.
Yeah.
Because if you have, I mean, it's a really good story. Um, I disagree with some decisions that they made, but I mean, it's at least interesting. It is at least interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Yeah, it's some of it just feels a little fan fictiony at times.
Yeah, that's the things I don't agree with, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's certainly it has a lot to say at least, and
So
it handles
something
the characters well.
some things are some things really do sound like if you and a couple of buddies were drunk in a bar and
Mhm.
you were like, what about if like, Jor-El didn't die on Krypton
Mhm.
and then became a villain and like started controlling everybody and taking people in and out? Like, would that be kind of cool? Like it really does sound like something stupid, but like somebody was really trying to go like, oh, people will fucking jump at this shit. People are gonna like totally lose their minds when they find out about that.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's kind of like, yeah, that's like I get like, oh yeah, go down the line and then make a left turn right when everybody's doing it, but not making a left turn, not making two lefts, a right, and a fucking and go straight. Like Jesus Christ, man, it,
Yeah, for
and
sure. It's I kind of I don't know if we could have the final word on it until it actually finishes, which is supposed
that
to be December.
that's my thing though, and I don't want to catch up on it just because of that fact though, is because I've read a couple, I've been trying to catch up to it, and sometimes it kind of feels like, oh yeah, we're trying to, oh well, we wrote one thing, now we're trying to fix it. We liked that, oh we didn't really like this, and it really does sound like a story that is being written in the moment and not like, oh yeah, we had a plan for it.
Yeah.
you know what was it? And I get it. Comic books are very much, they're written month to month or week to week or anything like that, and you're kind of coming up with the story as it goes. But I mean, at least having like a journey or an arc for certain characters and going, all right, well, Batman's going to start here, and by the end of it, he's going to be all the way over here. How do we get to these points? And like having like road mark and having like checkpoints, not just kind of
Mhm.
going, well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly I mean we're getting a little convoluted, but I mean again, let's just see how it finishes.
Yeah, I can't wait to buy. You know what? No matter how much I'm talking shit about it, I'm gonna go buy a hard copy.
Yeah. It's a
I'll
good
still,
collector's item, yeah.
yeah,
I don't
I'll
think
still,
you're talking should, but no, I see your no, I see your criticisms for sure.
yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go buy a collector's edition of it. I'm still gonna go put it inside which I'll put it in my collection and flip through it as like a giant graphic. I feel like Doomsday Clock is gonna do really well as a graphic novel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
It's probably
think
geared
I,
towards that.
I think that Doomsday Clock would have been really dope as like a one shot graphic novel, or even like couple of graphic novels and stuff like that, and not like a week to week.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Walking Dead, like the
Like DC,
Walking
yeah. Like
like
DC Black Label.
yeah, like if you read the Walking Dead week to week, it's kind of dull.
Yeah.
If you read The Walking Dead week to week, it was pretty dull. Like a comic book, like not a lot would happen. A lot of people would just be talking, and it's a lot of setup for 5 comics down the line and stuff like that. But if you read that bitch in a compendium, you really do get really do get the gravitas and everything like that. So I do feel that Doomsday Clock is going to do the same thing. It's going to have that gravitas and that real surprise and shock factor that they were looking for, more as a compendium than anything else.
Right, right. Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. I just feel the current editorial of DC seems a little scattered. Like, there was 3 Jokers announced, and I guess they'll eventually get to that with all their other Joker plans
Yeah,
coming
like
about too.
what
Yeah.
the like
But
how do you have that as one of the biggest drops, like one of the biggest bombs on Batman, is figuring out that there was 3 Jokers the entire time you've been Batman, and then Batman went, well, I'll get to it.
mhm.
His greatest villain, there's been 3 of them the whole time, and he's like, I mean, that sounds like tomorrow, that sounds like 5 years from now Batman's problem, not really mine.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's comic book continuity. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. But going to that, let's switch topics. We're talking about another comic book series, but it's on Amazon Prime, which is The Boys. Came out
Yes.
shortly after Comic Con. I remember that was a big marketing push there by Amazon Prime.
Yes.
You binge watch it. I binge
Oh
watch.
yeah, I mean, I think The Boys is an awesome TV show, man. What was it? The Boys does so much. You know what? The Boys is what Powers should have been.
So it should have had money. Um,
If Powers would have had
yeah,
money and backing,
hmm
and The Boys' writers, I
yeah,
think Powers
right.
could have been The Boys.
They took my fucking powers.
No, because if you really look at Powers, like the first couple of episodes, it very much has the same kind of concept. It
Hmm.
does have the same concept. Like superheroes aren't who you think they are. Superheroes aren't as
Assholes, yeah.
yeah, they're assholes and stuff like that. They take advantage of people. They're all about like the money and like the gravitas of like the job and stuff like that. They don't really give a shit about people and everything else. That's Powers. The Boys is what happens when you take that concept and you do it correctly.
Hmm.
And and not to say like the acting inside of Powers was bad. I just think they didn't have enough funding. They really didn't have enough funding, and they didn't. Man, the writing wasn't as good.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate because that's a good
Yeah,
fungus comic. But
yeah.
yeah, the boys is it's funny because this is it's a show that came out in our teens. I was thinking about that. Well, it's a
Oh,
comic book series that came out when we were teenagers, and 10 years later, it's a show, and it's coming out like when we're in our 20s, and it's more it's funny because it seems like the story kind of aged with us because I mean, the boys when it came out, it was a little crude, like it was
yeah,
pretty crude, pretty lewd as well, with dogs chewing off balls and testicles.
yeah. I do feel like the comic book isn't as in some areas as polished as the TV show.
Yeah,
And I do think that the TV show on the Boys, which are TV show, Boys series on Amazon, has the benefit of having having complete stories
hmm,
and having the ability to go, okay, so what are we going to take? What are we not going to take? Because there's a great
yeah,
story in here, but there's also not so great stories in here as well. Like,
yeah, no, for
like
sure.
what do we take and what do we throw out the window and go, okay, well that wasn't important. And they did do a really good job of kind of taking out all the bullshit and
Mhm.
just keeping really good stuffing. Not only that, but also I think, keeping it to that. I think is it 11 or 12 episodes? I think it's 12 episodes, isn't it?
For this season, there's 8.
Yeah, there was only 8. Okay, still 8 episodes. I think that there is a benefit to keeping it really tight. It is the one problem that like shows like Arrow or The Flash do have when they have to meet that 20 episode mark every season, is that there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of, there's a main story,
Yeah.
but we have to have, 10 episodes that have nothing to do with our main story, but our heroes do learn something in the meantime
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Whereas
A
in
lot of
this,
filler.
there's a lot of filler
It's
episodes.
like
Yeah.
anime.
Yeah, very much like anime. We gotta wait until the manga gets a couple of more episodes ahead because we caught up. So we're gonna have to fill for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I do think that The Boys does a really good job of they got a story and they were like, how do we present this in the best possible way?
Yeah, I mean, I love the comic, but yeah, it certainly gives a lot more characters more empathy, as well. Starlight being the prime example of that. She really gets put through the ringer in the original comic, and she goes through a lot of stuff, but it's not as demeaning, which I really appreciate as well. And yeah, the she has like her own agency. I don't remember how tied she was to kind of a religious right in the comic. I remember she was a very religious character, but the fact that they kind of made her question her own like faith and kind of
Yeah.
the fanatic nature of religion is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I do kind of like the idea. I mean, as somebody who, for the show to kind of go, there are hypocrites and there are people that are just purely doing this for the money and stuff like that. But to also have somebody like Starlight who really does believe in what she's trying to sell. She really does believe in God, and she believes in her faith, and she believes in everything else. And her kind of, stepping away from the spotlight just because she sees these people are full of shit. These people don't give a shit about anything, and they're very hypocritical. They'll do one thing and then automatically flip flop to something totally different.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also interesting that this comes out during the Trump era when the original comic came out in the Bush era, which had a
Yeah.
lot of that as well.
Not only that, but
Yeah.
also I do believe that this show benefits the most from its cast.
Mm-hmm.
Its cast sells the show. I mean,
Right.
the material's
Carl
good,
Urban.
but the thing is that Anthony Starr as well as Homelander.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
creeps you out.
yeah, but Anthony Starr. Without Anthony Starr, the show I think doesn't work the same way.
Mm-hmm.
He really does sell Homelander. He sells the idea of, oh yeah, what would happen if Superman was, made to be Superman? He was yeah, like he was brought up inside of a science lab and done everything. He wasn't, he didn't grow up by the nicest people on the earth. He was grown up by a corporation for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen to that person? What happens to that kid that grows up that way? Does he become a good person? Does he become a fucking sociopath? I don't know. Gotta figure it out.
Yeah, Homelander is just one of the most well-written characters as well, and the things he does in the show is just so irredeemable. And it's not like he's a villain you want to love. It's just like, man, you fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, alone, the plane scene is by far one of the greatest parts of the show.
Mm-hmm.
The plane scene, what was it? I don't know if we want to spoil anything for the show.
I mean, it's been out 2 months, yeah.
It's been out 2 months. I think we could talk about it and everything like that. But in one of the episodes, I think it's in like the 4th or 5th episode, Homelander and what was it? Homelander goes to go save a plane that's been hijacked.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's on the plane, he very much fucks up.
Mhm.
He laser beams the cockpit and kind of goes, all right, well, everybody on the plane's dead. Let's leave. And but
Yeah.
he has that great switch, which is
Mhm.
awesome. The what was it? That moment of going like, yeah, everybody's dead, and then turning to everybody and going like, everybody's gonna be fine. We'll be okay. Don't mind us. We're just gonna go to the back of the plane. And it's that moment of his switch when everybody
Mhm.
starts freaking out, going like, "Wait, are you leaving? You're gonna let us die here?" And it's like, I swear to God, I will kill every last one of you if you don't stop.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
huh?
No, I said, yeah, the switch of that character, just going from uh, just this, Man of Steel to just this scummy character is just so
Yeah,
well done. Yeah.
he knows how to do it perfectly, where he can be the Man of Steel and then turn into Lex Luthor. And just kind of go like, like, it doesn't matter what happens to you; it only matters what happens to me.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's actually the best way to put Homelander, is that very much if like Lex Luthor was given, the powers of Superman,
Yeah.
because
Is he so cold and calculated?
he's so cold, he's so calculated, he's all kind of out for number one. He thinks he's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, I mean that's the best way to kind of make which are to show Homelander and everything else. I think that's awesome.
I agree. But yeah, no, the rest of the cast is pretty great.
Yeah, man, Jack Quaid.
Yeah, Jack Quaid. I love what's her name, the Starlight, Erin Moriarty. She's, you just feel for that character. The guy that plays A Train, Jesse
Jesse
Usher.
Usher, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, A Train isn't as that he has some depth to him, but he's also a bit irredeemable, and you feel for him in some scenes, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. A Train he's a junkie.
Hmm.
He very much is a junkie. I mean, it's a damn shame that he's a junkie and everything like that. But I do feel it's hard for me to feel for A Train because he is kind of an asshole. And when you really think about it, he does kind of deserve everything that's coming to him.
Yeah.
What was it? Jesse Usher does an awesome job as him. Who else? Moriarty, she does a great job as Starlight. I mean, like I said, the whole cast
Yeah.
does a
I,
great
and
job.
and I was really happy that they actually got Simon Pegg as Huey's dad
Yeah,
because he's modeled after him.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's so awesome that they were
Mhm.
like, why don't like a little tiny Easter egg of this is going to be kind of cool. Why don't we just put it in? And stuff like that. I mean, it's a great project. I'm obviously it's done really well. I mean, it has an 8.8 on IMDb already,
Yeah.
9.2. I mean, it just took off, and I think that more people should go watch it. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Simon Pegg's like American accent? By the way.
His American accent, you know what? I feel like Simon Pegg's American accent is a little weird.
Hmm.
Because straight up for most actors who are from from Europe or the UK, they always have this weird Southern twang
Yeah.
to it, and you kind of hear it inside of what was it, inside of Simon Pegg's, like
Hmm.
inside of it, where he has this Southern twang to it, where you're kind of like,
Yeah.
you're in the middle of like New York, dude, like you're in Chicago. Why the fuck do you have a Southern twang? Like that don't make any sense.
Hmm.
And stuff like that. I,
Yeah.
I I feel like it would have been easier if you would have just let him have his accent and then just gone, my dad's from Europe. Like an easy fucking like
Yeah.
one line of just going like, yeah, like my dad came from Europe a couple of years, like my dad came from Europe, and we grew up here and shit like that. Like an easy fucking line would automatically excuse it. You can kind of go like, all right, cool, whatever. Like
Hmm.
Simon Pegg's got an accent. All right, whatever. It's not that big of a
There
deal.
you go. Yeah. Just accept it. Yeah. But yeah, it's great. I love it. I would recommend it to anyone, and I think at times it kind of outleans the comic.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I do feel like it's a little better than the comic. Like I said before, the comic was a little all over the place at times.
Mm-hmm.
where the story wasn't as cohesive
Yes.
uh, as the show. And like I said, I mean, right now they've only gotten two, maybe three, like I think like maybe like two and a half like arcs in.
Yeah.
Hope there is still plenty of comic book for them to use. Use it. I'm okay with it. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
What was it? I say this for not only for the boys but also for the Umbrella Academy. It kind of has that same vibe to it. I very much think you do you.
Yeah, exactly. And just winding down with that, with the boys, it's in like a so many comic book movies, it's cool to have the satire of them
Yeah,
as well. Because just like the little like touches, like Seth Rogen, his like fake press junket with Black Noir, talking
yeah.
about the cinematic universe is just you know it
It's
really satirizes just the whole state of the industry.
well, not only that, but also what was it like superhero movies? Like the
Hmm.
fact that like there is there's an entire universe. There's a real like what is it? There's a real team, and they have like their own things, but then also they have like their own like villain universe
Yeah.
to it, and I think that's really interesting as well. I do think that it's really interesting that the thing that Homelander thought is he needed supered what was it supervillains?
Hmm.
Like he was like, yeah, the one thing that we don't have is we don't have any supervillains. Like we don't have these mastermind villains that we have to battle. We just battle regular human beings. What is
Hmm.
this country? This country needs a new class of villain, and fucking Homelander gave it to him, man. He just
Hmm.
went like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give a bunch of like terrorists superhuman powers, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, it's such a well written plot point. But yeah, no, just brilliant show. Just the next thing I wanted to go on to, just completely off topic, which was topic we thought we'd address on Nick, your DC Universe app. There's been a lot of it's been a lot of talk of comics going digital last
Uh,
decade. What are your thoughts on digital versus regular comics? It seems like you really need more towards digital. What is your case for that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure me and Hugh have had this conversation before, but for an actual like user of digital comics and stuff like that, I mean, because I don't just use it on my app, I also buy comics like that I can't get on Amazon Prime, and I'll read them on my Kindle or my computer or anything like that. It's more out of convenience than anything else, but what was it? I do like having a comic book though. I do like
Yeah, the smell of it.
yeah, it's very much like having like a great novel inside your backpack or anything like that. Like I really do like having what was it, a nice big graphic novel inside of my
Mhm.
inside my backpack. Comic books themselves, like actual like weekly comics, not so much. I do feel like they like sometimes they do leave a little bit of clutter
Mhm.
and stuff like that where it is a little bit it is a little nicer to kind of just have like, oh yeah, I can go ahead and just whatever comic I can just search for it, pull it up and I can read it
Yeah.
and stuff like that instead of having to go through however many boxes I have and try and find that specific comic book and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I think that it's like I said, it's more a convenience. I do think that it's a real shame though, because I love comic book stores, and
Mhm.
the more and more we move towards digital comics, the more you're going to see these stores go out of business. And
Right. I
I
mean,
think that
they're already kind of going out of business.
yeah, very much so. I mean, I talked to a couple people at the comic book store that we used to go to all the time. What was it Undercity Comics? I pass by every so often. Talk to Renee, talk to a couple other people that's inside. Pick up a graphic novel or so, even pick up a pop or anything like that. But they even say too, like we have to start thinking about other things that we can sell in the store.
Right. So like D&D or
Yeah, like they're opening up to like D&D,
collectibles.
pops, board games, stuff like that. It's more, it's becoming more of like this is a place to get collectibles, while also you can pick up a comic book or so. And I
Right.
think and I think a lot of comic book stores are having to do that. They're I mean, as the business changes, it's kind of like Blockbuster. You've got that's
Yeah.
it's shitty when you think about it, but yeah, it is kind of like Blockbuster when Netflix came out, man. Like these companies are very. I mean, if you think about it, these companies are saving how much money when they just put it on digital. They don't need to print. They don't need to spend money on printing. They don't need to spend money on shipping. They don't need to spend. What was it? They can get the comic book out to its users, and its users can immediately go to the which one go on the app and read them. I mean, as Disney progresses with their Disney Plus, they're developing a Marvel app so that way you can also read your Marvel comics and do everything like that too. I wouldn't be surprised if more and more companies did that or even jumped on board with already existing apps
Yeah.
and stuff like
I
that.
could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really weird and really interesting. I'm wondering if they're gonna start giving you ads while you're reading
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Because they got to figure out how to make money somehow.
It's certainly it's a business and they have to, excuse me, they have to keep making a profit. I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's pure and simple. Like they have, I don't want them to stop writing, so I
Hmm.
will support them in any capacity. I do wish that it didn't hurt comic book stores as much as it does, but yeah, I do see in probably like the next like 5 to 6 years, maybe a lot of comic book stores kind of going to the wayside, like a Blockbuster
Yeah.
or
I
anything
mean,
else.
we'll see. I have hope. But yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's
economically, it's even smarter too.
mhm.
That's the sad part though. Do I go and I spend $5 a month and I can get as many comic books as I want? I can even get backlog and everything else. Or do I spend $2 on each comic book that I'm gonna get and maybe find a backlog, maybe have to wait for it to be ordered, you
Mhm.
know? I mean, that's the fun of going to go search for comics, but that's also kind of the frustration too.
Yeah. I mean, the spinning rack days are gone.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to collect, and yeah, we just have to see what happens. Just wrapping up here, I just think it's a crazy time to be alive. Crazy time to collect comic books. Just crazy time for everything. We're really transitioning into this future, and I think comic books will be here to stay, but in what form? Don't know yet. We'll see.
I
Just
I
keep
have no
supporting local businesses
I
if you
have
can.
noticed. I have noticed
Yeah.
though. What was it? I do read more graphic novels. Like even though I have graphic novels on the DC app, graphic novels are something in
Hmm.
which I do still buy, and I'll still buy it and read it and stuff like that, and kind of go, oh, okay, cool. This is a comic book I want. What was it? I still do go pick up a graphic novel. I do like feeling the weight of the book and flipping through the pages and stuff like that. Reading a good graphic novel, even though sometimes I can get it on the DC app, I will still go get a graphic novel. Not only for to read it, but also just to collect it as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's one of the main points of the business model.
What about you? Are you moving towards which paper, or are you going more towards digital?
What's up?
Are you going more towards paper, or are you staying towards? Are you going towards digital?
Digital.
Digital. Well, I mean, you've been using my my DC Universe. How have you been liking it?
I've been liking it. It's just um, not much to read right now. I mean, I've been trying to do more digital because I could read as much as I can. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, especially since well, I also really like the digital as well because I really do like their content. So far, their content's been pretty good. It does keep me on the page for like Titan season 2. Swamp Thing was pretty good. What was it? I mean, they're giving you content left and right. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what else they add onto it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll keep getting the DC Universe out. Keep doing that. Just kind of wrapping up. Let's just see what happens. But Nick, our time is up.
Absolutely. Also, before we leave, DC,
Yeah.
send us money. We keep plugging you. Do it.
I think a sponsor.
We're not sponsored to say like we love DC, but it's okay. We will be sponsored. It's fine. We won't. We do not think that highly of ourselves. So DC, send us money as easily and as much as you want.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Nick, where can people find you at?
You can always find me at Facebook, Nick Valero, or you can always find me at Twitter, the real Nick Valero on Twitter.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, G9892. Follow and subscribe to the Waffle Press. We're at the Waffle Press on Twitter. On Instagram, which we have now, follow there and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and we're Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely. And also, in the comments, let's go ahead and get a discussion going on. What do you guys feel about digital comics? Do you guys prefer the paper comics? Let us know how you feel. Let's start a nice little conversation in the comments if we can.
Cool. All right. And thank you for listening, for watching. We've been professionally unprofessional.